So we're going to start by digging on the edge of the bank. Now I picked this spot partially because usually there's some good gold right along the edge of the water line here, because it kind of settles down off the bank when the water comes back and washes it back and down a little bit. And every river has two banks, so we're not going to be able to find something like this where you are. And secondly, because it really doesn't matter too much, because for our purposes right now we're just trying to find a little bit of gold. So we're going to move the big rocks out of the way and then start pulling out handfuls of dirt and putting them in your pan. Now we're going to find ways of improving this a lot as we go along in this video series. You're going to be working hundreds and hundreds of times the amount of dirt you're going to be able to work this way. But this will get your feet wet, so to speak, and literally, so that you can start finding a little bit of gold today. Now you put your rocks in here, just keep the dirt on them so this doesn't get washed off in case there's a little bit of gold on the rock. And get your pan, I don't know, about half full or so for right now. Put some water in it so we can wash off those bigger rocks. Get them out of the way. Now, you can take your fingers and kind of knead this dirt around, because if you have any roots in here or any clods of dirt that is not dissolved, when you shake your pan down to settle your gold out, your gold won't be able to settle because it's going to hit roots like this and get stuck in them. So you need to rinse your roots out before you get rid of them and break up all the clods of dirt so you have a nice, smooth, even texture down here, all the way to the bottom. Pull out the biggest of the rocks, rinsing them off as you go. Alright, so now we're going to move to a spot where we can pan this out easily. Preferably someplace dry and someplace that has a nice deep pool in front of it so you can work your gold out easily. So now put the pan under the water and start shaking it. Now at first you're just going to shake it like crazy for about 10 or 15 seconds. Back and forth, like this, diagonally, around in circles. Anything you can do that will not actually have dirt falling out of your pan. Pull off any leaves or anything on top. Occasionally you're going to exchange the water so you can actually start to see your dirt, because you want to get all that mud off of there, because sometimes it's really hard to see your pan. You need to be able to see it for this part. And notice that we're just sort of shaking all the way around in a circle and then back and forth. And now what we're doing is we're turning this dirt into a liquid so that the gold can just slide around in those other rocks and just drop straight to the bottom. And by now any major pieces of gold have already dropped to the bottom. So, some basic things you need to know about panning. First, the object of panning is to take the stuff off the top and leave the gold on the bottom. Now, that seems to be pretty obvious, but there's several things about that that you're not going to recognize right away. For one thing, you want to wash off only the stuff right off the top. You don't want to just sort of vibrate all the stuff out. A common beginner mistake is to do this. So you shake it back and forth like this, and a common mistake is to take it, now watch this lip. See how everything is just sort of vibrating off the end? Well, you're losing stuff off the top and off the bottom there, and that's not how you want to pan, because you could be losing gold off of the bottom here. Even though you have your riffles, it can be stirred up down there and just keep vibrating its way out. So what we're going to do is we're going to shake it so that we get as close to the edge as we can without actually risking it. Now usually that means you have like an inch lip or so here while you're shaking. And then once we shake it, with about a half an inch of water in there, we're going to tilt the pan forward and just pick it up. Just like that. Now dip, same angle, and pick it up. Dip, same angle, pick it up. Do that 3 times and then resettle it. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. And I move it backwards slightly each time, kind of give it a bit of a forward motion to the gravel. Shake, pick, pick, pick. Now, you can see now that we're getting a lot of big rocks down in here. And this means that when the water flows out, it's going to be digging little crevices underneath the rocks as the currents flow around the rocks. And that could be sucking out gold that's way down here. Because the water flows out, it can suck it out of there. So we need to get these rocks out of here. To do that, we're going to put the pan under some water, settle it down again, and just rake your fingers through here like this, like a sort of a 3-fingered rake, and just sort of gently shake these big rocks out of here. And then rotate the water so that you have plenty of water to wash them off with. Pick it up, look for any nuggets in case there are any. There aren't. Do that again a couple of times. Let's just shake the biggest of the rocks out of your way so you don't have to worry about them messing up your currents. Now we'll resettle and we'll continue. That's a lot easier to work with. Now it's very important, a common mistake that you need to make sure you do not do, is once you settle it down into this corner, all the gold is going to be right in this spot down here. going to settle straight down to the lowest point in the pan. If you set it like this, however, and then when you pull it back out of the water, you go like this, and then go like this, well, you just stirred up the bottom of your pan. And so the gold that was down here might be up here, or it might be on top. You don't know where it is. So once you start settling it to a corner, and you always want to settle it to the corner with the ripples on it, you want to make sure you leave it in that corner and you never change the bottom point of the pan. So never bend it back like this or over like this. Always keep your bottom point in the same place. That way your gold continues to settle and settle and settle, and everything else just washes off the top. And as you go a little bit farther down, you're going to slightly tilt your pan forward so you can keep washing stuff out like this. Settle. 1, 2, 3. Settle. 1, 2, 3. Point, you can see the riffles between the black sand. You have these little green spots. That means that if you don't change the orientation of your pan, you're going to again have those currents coming out and washing under even these small rocks to pull the gold out of these little cracks in the riffles. So that means you need to change the way the pan is pointed and just wash your gold and your dirt very gently around like this, making sure you wash everything away and don't leave anything behind over here or down here. Thoroughly resettle it. Take about 5 or 10 seconds like this. And this way you don't have the riffles, because the riffles are very handy at the beginning to keep the gold in the bottom and wash out everything else a lot faster. But at this point they'll get in your way. And now you're getting down to the bottom and you're getting down to the black sand. As you can see here, it's getting a lot more darker. And you're washing all the lighter weight material off the top. Now you'll notice that generally speaking, the heavier elements in the creek are black, and the lighter weight elements are all brownish or blonde. And so gold miners call these things you're washing at the top blondes. And you'll notice when you settle, the color gets a lot lighter, and then when you wash it off, you see the black again. All gold in the world is found in black sand. Now there are a few minor exceptions to that, I suppose, but for what you're going to find, just about everything you're going to be finding is in black sand, because black sand is the second heaviest thing in the creek. And so whenever you find black sand, you're in a place where you're likely to find gold. Now I'm going to continue washing this out. Shaking it down. I can see a couple little specks of gold underneath there. Nothing large, but I didn't expect to find anything large in that creek there, in that bank. I'm just very slowly watching the gold flakes, which I see one here, 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 and here. Watching them so we don't wash them out, and just rolling out the black sand. Because the gold is heavy, it's going to stick to the pan a lot better, and the same amount of turbulence that'll wash out the black sand won't even touch the gold. We're almost done with the black sand. Okay, now come here close and you can see this gold here. Okay, so here you can see spot there, spot there, spot there, spot there, and a spot back here. And those are all gold that I found on the edge of this creek. Alright, and so now we need to buy a vial. Now these cost about 33 to 50 cents. Unfortunately, at this rate, the amount of gold we found here, you'll be working most of the day just to pay for one of these things. Still, we'll get a lot better at this as we go along. For our first time, this isn't bad. And also I want to mention at this point that most of the videos that you see on the internet teaching you how to find gold have been salted. That means that they've actually taken gold and put into the pan so that they know they're going to find something so it looks good on camera. We don't do that. What you see in our pan is actually what we found in the spot that I showed you. So, this is a realistic expectation of what you're going to find if you just go to a random river and dig in a random spot on the bank. Now, you're going to get a lot better at this, and you're going to find better spots and much bigger pieces of gold. But what you see here in the video is what you're going to be likely to find. So, now you take your finger, when it's dry or just a little bit wet, and take the gold in a place in the pan where it's dry, and just touch the gold with your finger, and it'll pick right up. And you put some water in your vial so that it's full. And you take your finger and you set the spot that has the gold in it over the vial, and the gold will drop straight to the bottom. And now you can see it in the bottom of that. So we're going to add our other pieces like that. That one. And that one. And just set them up in here. And now, you turn your vial on its side, you can look down there and you can see 3 or 4 pretty gold flakes. Now if you want to make this stand out even better, you can take a little piece of electrical tape, black electrical tape, wait for it to dry of course, and put a little piece of it along one side, and the black will really make the gold stand out. If you don't have much gold, it makes it look more impressive, which is, important to those of us who like looking at our gold. Another very serious beginner mistake when they're going to hunt gold with a pan is that they're terrified of losing a fleck of gold down the river. Now, that means that they'll spend 5 or 10 minutes working one pan, when I might work that same pan in about 45 seconds. So while they're spending the time finding that one little flake, I can be working 15 other pans and getting 5 times the flakes, 15 times the flakes, 20 times the flakes, whatever. The point is, you can't spend all day chasing that one little flake that you may or may not have in the pan. It's important to process the dirt and keep moving. But when you're a beginner, you're really worried about losing that little bit of gold. It's something we all feel. You have to get over that. But to do that, one way to build your confidence is to pan from one pan into another pan. So I'll fill this pan up with water, like this, then fill this pan up with material, and then just shake it into here and pour it in like that. With material in it. You keep doing that until you get down to the bottom, and you don't have to worry about losing your gold because you're confident. If you do lose it, it's still in there. If you make a mistake, you can pan that out back into this pan, and you do that a couple of times, you start to realize that you really didn't lose that much gold, and it was worth it just to stay with what you were doing and keep working more material rather than obsessing over every little fraction of gold that you could have gotten. So that's an important little trick you can do. And you can also do it in a larger container. You can do it in your sink even, if you don't flush the dirt down your drain. That doesn't really work good for drains. But that's basically all you need to know about panning for right now. There'll be a lot more to do down the road because there's 3 basic types of panning. There's the panning that we just now did to find some gold. There's concentrate panning, which is what you do when you're working out the material from a sluice or a dredge or anything like that that has a lot of gold in it. You have to pan a little bit differently there, but we'll get to that in time. And the third kind is panning for sampling. And that's where you just wander around a river looking at places that look, I think that spot's got gold in it. And so you go and you dig up a couple shovelfuls, you dig it out. In a situation like that, you're not trying to catch as much gold. You don't care if you lose a tiny little bit. What matters is that you can process a bunch of it and see if there's gold in this spot and that spot and that spot, so that you'll know where to spend the day digging out to run through your sluice or whatever other tool that you're going to use. But for right now, that's going to get you hunting gold with the pan, and we're going to move to the other things in the next videos.